Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome back to This Book Belongs to Pam, and welcome to Bookmas Day 8th. I feel like I haven't filmed in this spot for a while. I've been mostly working in the dining table. It has actually been hard balancing my day job, editing, filming, reading, and then chores and, the life stuff. I'm just craving the sit down time where I can sink into a chunky fantasy and just read. It's Sunday today. I don't have any plans. So I'm just gonna be reading this throughout the day. I do have reading sprints later with Pam from Pam Shenanigans. I'm currently at page 26. So I have not made any progress since I last updated you. But I'm hoping to get to at least maybe 150 today. So yeah, that is the plan for today. But of course, we have our Bookmas Advent Calendar, aka our Spin the Wheel challenges. Let's see what the wheel has in store for us today. Ooh, I like this. It's kind of chill. Recommend 3 books on Instagram. For now, I'm just gonna drink my coffee. I haven't had a sip yet, and I'm dying. And then I'm gonna read Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon.
How about you? I already know what you're gonna be reading.
I am
For this week,
gonna be reading this this tome. So this is The Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It's a very thick epic fantasy, and I'm currently on page 42. So I want to make like a bit more of a dent on this read. The writing style is really dense in a way, so I feel like I really need sprints to like read a lot at a time. So I think I've been reading like 20 pages whenever I pick this up. What are you gonna be reading, Sai? Good evening, Naya. Hello. How are you? I'm greater than Ben and Ben.
Is this a sign to make a band?
OMG Priority. I am actually liking it. Like, I've always known that I like epic fantasies. It's just that it's always a big commitment.
I don't think anyone has seen me like with long hair for like
I
the
don't
past
think I've
years.
seen you. But with that said, I think we can start going into our first reading sprint.
Ooh, very Christmassy.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna start the timer. See you in 30 minutes. Happy reading, everyone.
Ending to this.
It's actually the next day. I was not in the filming vibe yesterday, so I decided to postpone it to today. So it's kind of very real time right now. What I thought we could do today is talk about my 2024 wish list. Usually I do this before my birthday on December 4th because I use the list as a guide for what I buy on my big birthday book shopping thing, but I didn't do that this year. So it's kind of like a wish list in a sense that these are the books that I'm going to be thinking about over the next year and try to like fulfill things off of my wish list. So kind of counts as like a 2025 wish list rather than a 2024. I think that's just what I'm gonna call it. And what I usually do for these videos is I look back to last year's video, see which books I was able to check off of my wish list and which ones I might be removing from my wish list. Without further ado, this is last year's Pam. And welcome back to This Book Belongs to Pam. And the first one is actually The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Now, I read this book Okay, The Picture of Dorian Gray, I still have not gotten my own copy of it, but it's mostly because I can't decide which edition I want to get. I'm kind of torn between getting like a Penguin Classics edition or getting one of the, I guess, prettier ones. I think I'm gonna have a look at what they look like at the inside because I'm kind of picky about that. But yeah, still on my wish list, very much in my forever wish list. I don't think I will ever remove this until I actually get the book. So that's the first one, Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. The next book in the list is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. I actually did get it. I think at the time that I was filming this video, I already got it, but it hasn't arrived yet. I think. I'm not sure. Or maybe like a few days after, because I got this in December last year when my sisters visited me from the States. They brought this along. So yeah, Interview with a Vampire with Anne Rice. I still haven't read it, but it looks very pretty, very shiny. It also has deckled edges and a photo of Anne Rice at the back. Very interested in reading this one. I'm just like looking for the perfect vibes for it. So maybe closer to October this coming year. The next book is A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson and A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Actually, even in that video, I said that I already bought it then. I was just waiting again for my sisters to arrive from the States because they were going to be bringing it for me. And yeah, this is the Ferralut edition of A Diary of Blood. It has the gorgeous printed edges. And then you have the illustrations on the end papers. I think I need to reread this very soon. The next book in this list is actually a series, and that is the Magnolia Parks Magnolia Park series by Jessa Hastings. In my video last year, I got the first 3 books in the Magnolia Parks universe series. I still don't know what it's called. And then I mentioned that the 4th book is actually already ordered and I'm just waiting for it. Now I have both the 4th book, The Great Undoing, Daisy Hates, and the 5th book, which is Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. I think for this series, we still have one more book, which is the last Daisy Hates book, which is why I haven't started reading it. But how thick is this 5th book? How many pages is this? Over 600, almost 702 pages. It's just 128 pages shy of my Priority of the Orange Tree book that I'm currently reading. And then the next one is Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I still very much... Why is this book so heavy? Yes, Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, which is the first book of the Stormlight Archive. I got the first book and I managed to control myself and only get the first book because this is a chunker. It is so heavy. It is 1001 pages. So I have a lot of reading to do before I can actually get the next couple of books. I know that the 5th book, which is the finale of the first half, like the first arc of Stormlight Archive, was just released like a few days ago. I'm excited for everyone who's excited for that book, but I'm so far from it. So I think my plan for Brandon Sanderson books in general is I want to finish Mistborn Era 1 first, so book 1, 2, and 3, and then start the Stormlight Archive. This is very heavy and difficult to hold up. So yeah, got this off of my wish list. The last one on the list is Bunny by Mona Awad. Now Bunny by Mona Awad. I finally have this specific hardback edition of Bunny. It has been so hard trying to secure this copy. I got it off of a reseller and it's in pretty good condition. Not a lot of like scuffs, I think. It might be a remaindered edition, but I finally have it and I'm so happy. I love this book. I need to reread it. So yeah, Bunny by Mona Awad. So the first one is All's Well by Mona Awad. All's Well by Mona Awad. I don't have it yet. Mostly because, again, I am hunting down a specific edition. So I want this edition. I'm not sure if this is available in hardback. I think it is in the UK. And I still want it. So it's going to go straight into my 2025 wish list. The next one is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I read The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I gave this book 5 stars. I'm still gonna be adding it to my wish list, but I'm not in like a hurry to get it. It's mostly just because I want all my 5 stars on my bookshelf, but this isn't a book that I'm dying to reread anytime soon. Still on my wish list, but just, low priority. Third on the list is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, the best romance book that I've read. period. I have also read the latest Tia Williams release, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde. And that was actually also fun to read. I love the setting, but this is still the #1 book for me so far. So yeah, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. The next one is also a series that I read this year that I absolutely loved, and that is the Aurelian Cycle by Rosaria Munda. Aurelian Cycle, which is Fireborn, Flamefall, and Fury Song by Rosaria Munda. I still want this. Still on my wish list, also low in priority. I don't think I'm gonna be reading this anytime soon just because I have so many fantasy books that I need to read that I really don't have time to reread a fantasy series, especially since there's no new books coming out in this series anyway. So it's mostly just for collection purposes. So I'm just holding off on this, still on a low priority wish list for next year. Next one is the last book in this list that I've already read, which is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Another What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is a 5-star horror read for me. It's also very tiny. But yeah, I love this cover so much. The next thing on the wish list is What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is the sequel to What Moves the Dead. So I got them together and I haven't read the second book, so I think I'm gonna be planning to read this for closer to October next year. Next one is also a series. And this one is I have been looking forward to reading this series for a long time now, and that is The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. So that's Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. And for those of you who have eagle eyes, yes, I am in the middle of Clockwork Princess. To be more precise, I am in the middle of having my heart broken by Clockwork Princess because of, well, Tessa and Jem. I even dog-eared a page. That's how much I've been enjoying this. So I am currently reading this for my series read-along sprints. And the next one is gonna be on potentially Tuesday or Wednesday. I haven't scheduled it yet. But yeah, I'm 1/3 of the way through Clockwork Princess, which means I am only less than 400 pages away from finishing the entire trilogy. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself after this one. Are we gonna see these characters again in the other Shadowhunters books? Because I don't want to stop reading about them. So yeah, Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. And this has been a really good book so far, really good series, and I highly recommend it, even though I haven't finished it yet, but I already recommend it. The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. Another series is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. So for The Raven Cycle, I actually have the first 2 books in the, what do you call a 4-book series? The quartet. The first book, which is The Raven Boys, was actually gifted to me last Christmas. And then I recently got The Dream Thieves, which is the second book. So I have no love for these covers at all. They are hideous. I did already read the first book and I have enjoyed it. It was a very different reading experience. Like, I think it was like a mix of paranormal, which I didn't expect, but I enjoyed it. So yeah, that is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Next one is Ninth House and Hellbent by Lee Verdugo. Ninth House and Hellbent by Lee Verdugo. So yes, I did get both books last year. The first book, Ninth House, was actually gifted to me by Jessie Chamber Reads, and I'm so very grateful that she thought of me last, I think it was Christmas when she gave this to me. But I haven't read this yet, but I am gonna be reading this year if all of my plans go well, because this is part of my 12 Friends 12 Recs challenge. So the idea is to read this closer to the end of the year so I can read Hellbent in the beginning of next year. So yeah, Ninth House and Hellbent, which is called the Alex Stern series by Lee Verdugo. This one is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Okay, Our Wives Under the Sea, I still want to get it. I'm still very curious about this, but I am being very particular about the edition. I really like this cover. I hate this cover, and that is a cover that's locally available, so I'm just finding ways to get this specific cover first. The next one, you guessed it, Rouge by Mona Awad. Rouge by Mona Awad. So I did get it, and I have also read it. I think I read this for Jamie's Library's book club. It was Unhinged, which is, you know, Mona Awad's signature, and there's a lot of like good discussion points from reading this book, but I think I still prefer Bunny over this one and All's Well over this one as well. But yeah, it was a really fun read. It's definitely a book that I think I would reread at some point in my life, but it does take a lot of brain cells to read this one. But yeah, that's Rouge by Mona Awad. Next one is The List by Yomi Adegoke. So, The List by Yomi Adegoke. I got a different edition from the one that I actually wanted, and I haven't read this one. I also have not heard good things about it, which is unfortunate, which is probably why I haven't picked it up. But I think I'm gonna pick it up next year and read it so I can decide whether I want to keep it in my collection. I'm not very attached to this cover at all. I prefer the one with this emoji in the middle. That would have been the cutest. But yeah, The List by Yomi Adegoke. The last book on this list is Letters a Young Poet by Rilke. I got it. Letters a Young Poet by Rainer Marie Rilke. I also got the edition with Letters to Rilke from the Young Poet. I haven't read this one. I think I'm kind of like saving it for when I'm really in the mood for classics. It's a very short book and I think it's kind of very accessible to read. But yeah, I got this tiny edition. I still like the Penguin Classics edition, but I was really curious about the fact that this has the other side of the letters, the ones that are from the Young Poet. Yeah. Okay, I think I missed one book from the list last year. I don't know why. I think I might have skipped over it, but I also got Tomiye by Junji Ito. This is one of his more famous works, and I haven't read this, but I am working on a reading Junji Ito for the first time video, so this is gonna come out of that. Very excited. I have already read a Junji Ito, and so far I have a pretty good experience, so really excited to get into one of his more popular works. So that's actually a lot. What I'm realizing here is that I'm pretty good at fulfilling things off of my wish list. So let's add more to my wish list. Aside from the ones that I already mentioned earlier that I plan on keeping on my wish list, I'm just having a look through the actual wish list that I have online. Quickfire list of what I am, planning to get next year potentially. Okay, first one on the list is Shaggy Bane by Douglas Stewart. So this I found out through the 100 best books of the 21st century or something like that from New York Times. I wasn't interested in this book at the time, but the next book that I'm gonna have on this wish list was so good, and everyone says that if you like that book, then you're gonna like Shaggy Bane. So I'm adding Shaggy Bane to my wish list, and the book that inspired that is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. I love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. This is about a queer Irish, his sort of family saga, and how he essentially lived in the time when Catholicism had Ireland in a chokehold, and if you're gay, you're gonna get cast out. And I just really loved this book, and what I'm realizing is that I love books that cover a saga, like the beginning of a person's life until what happens at the very end. I tend to love those books. I love that in Pachinko as well. And Shaggy Bane promises to be something similar to that, and I think that it covers addiction. So yeah, I'm really curious about that, which is why I have it on my wish list. And then I have Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sadawi. I have heard of this book many times before. This is not a new release, but for some reason I've never picked it up, and I recently came across this book again and I got curious. From what I know, this is about this person gathering body parts from a war-torn Baghdad, essentially creating a Frankenstein of sorts so that you can see that these are people that you are killing. That's how I understood it. So I'm really curious about how that's executed in writing. Obviously, I have the newest Hunger Games book that's gonna come out I think in March. It's Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and this is the Haymitch story. I really loved The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I'm curious to see where Suzanne Collins is gonna take the franchise. Even though it's a prequel, I feel like we get to learn so many new things about the world, and I love the Hunger Games. The next one is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. I actually already read this and I gave this 5 stars. It's really one of the more interesting mystery thriller novels that I've read recently, and I love all of the hidden messages and the very unique storytelling format. So yeah, I want to have it. And then I have Small Things Like This by Claire Keegan. I know that this is gonna get, is it a movie adaptation or a TV series starring Cillian Murphy? and I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's also a tiny book, but everyone says that it's a tiny but heartbreaking book, and it's historical fiction. So yeah, very interested to read that. I have been very curious about Kristen Hanna. I've been hearing about her books from so many different creators, and everyone seems to be bawling their eyes out when reading her books. I'm specifically interested in The Great Alone. This one is about this family that's moving to Alaska, and for some reason, if a book's set in Alaska, I'm instantly interested in it. I have her other books on my wishlist as well. The Nightingale, which is one of the first books that I know of her, The Four Winds, and The Women. A fantasy book that I've been curious about is Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This is another dragon related book. And I don't know, I've just been curious about this, and I've heard pretty good things. And I did see this recently in the bookstore, and it looked quite interesting. So yeah, I just have that. A highly anticipated release for me would be Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I love V.E. Schwab. I have a V.E. Schwab shelf in my bookshelves, so I need to have this. Another thing that I want to put on the wish list is this edition of Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I haven't read this in full. I'm pretty sure I've read parts of it, but I haven't fully like sat down and read this series from start to finish, and I love this edition. I'm definitely putting that on the wish list. So yeah, that is it for my wish list for 2025. I think my list for like new books that wasn't on my previous list already is quite small this year, mostly because I bought so many books this year and I want to get through them before I actually add more to my collection. That is the wish list for 2025. Let me try and grab all the books that I got. There seems to be a lot. There are. Okay. These are all the books. I mean, I have it up until my leg. Okay, that's a lot. This is gonna be it for Bookmas Day 8. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and hopefully you get to cross off books from your own wish list if you have a top. Let me know in the comments below what your top wish list item is, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!